pushing the button to go live stream, and we are now live. Okay. So I welcome everybody in this evening. It's 6 o'clock in Germany and in the Netherlands and in France and in Sweden, and it's 7 o'clock in Athens. So I hope we have some visitors from Athens peeking in. Just for everybody who's maybe not familiar with when you're joining us on YouTube, you have the possibility, in the case you are registered there, to chat, to type in questions. So we will collect that and let it flow into our conversation. And I would now like to say everybody else on the panel hello, and thank you that you have the time to meet all here. So I think the easiest is if everybody of you is making a short introduction of your person and which space you are representing. And then I also told you that maybe to start to formulate a question or an issue that has been the most difficult one for you, either personal and or for the space you are attached to over the past year in this very special time. So I don't know, who wants to start? Andreas, you want to start?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm Andreas Ribbung from Stockholm, Sweden, and I'm an artist, painter, and I'm involved in a space called Candyland in Stockholm since 2004, and an art fair for artist-run spaces called Supermarket, which has been since 2006. And we also created a European network called AIM Network, Artist Initiatives Meetings, which part of it just started a Creative Europe project called Artist Run Network Europe. So I have different projects. And the pandemic has affected them in different ways. Supermarket was going to happen in April last year, and everything was planned, and hundreds of people were planning to come to Stockholm, had booked their flights and accommodation and everything, and we prepared. We just were about to send the catalog to printing, and when we canceled, and it was of course very tough and depressing in a way. With Candyland, it has been different. We have been continuing to have exhibitions, but we saw early that this will lead to a lot of digital stuff. And we thought that it was very important to keep doing physical exhibitions, but we made a lot of exhibitions where you could see them from the street, and we had the openings in the street as well. And then if it was an exhibition where you could go inside the room, we let like a few people in at the time. And during the regular opening hours, it hasn't been any bigger difference because the audience is very small, like regular days. Okay.
So Reed, you want to continue?
I'm happy to continue. My name is Riet van Gerven. I am the coordinator of C Foundation. C Foundation is a residency-based venue for contemporary art. We welcome artists to work here and to make new projects. Not only artists, also writers and curators. We have been in in contemporary art as C Foundation, and since 2010. From that time onwards, we have been more working with residencies, exhibitions, a project here and there, and concentrated mainly on finding partners abroad with whom we could exchange knowledge, exchange artists from our region. Until very recently, actually until this year, we operated without any funding. And this year we managed to get a small bit of funding from the local council, which is helpful because then occasionally, instead of making ourselves all the texts for artists, we could occasionally commission work by others. So C Foundation is a relatively small organization in the Netherlands, but we have quite a number of projects at our hands, apart from residencies, also exhibition, exchanges, and we make some publications. We do that with a very small team of volunteers, meaning time has been sort of eating up very quickly. And thinking of what has been the greatest challenges over this period, I think it's mainly that I think maybe not the public and maybe not making the exhibitions, because we have been doing that anyway, but it's coming to terms with technologies. Facebook has just recently changed again into a new business suite, sending emails with MailChimps with all our contacts has become so ridiculously expensive that we've tried some other operations and they have been also expensive and very cumbersome and laboursome. So on a practical level, actually making sure that we get good communication done about what we do during this pandemic, that you would say, yeah, you have some time to sort things out like that. Well, I find that was one of the big challenges for a small voluntary operated organization. And oh yes, maybe another thing, making sure I don't get a burnout. maybe that's also something which is important to realize. Yeah. Okay, maybe this is it to sort of start the conversation with.
Guillaume, you wanna be next?
Yes. Hello to everyone in this live stream. I'm Guillaume Cric, based in Lille, France. So I'm artist, sculptor, doing sculptures mostly. I'm also teachers at the Fine Art School of Tourcoing Dunkerque, which is on the Lille Metropole, north of France. And I'm also active member, curator and active member at the Bureau d'Art et de Recherche, which is in Roubaix on the Lille Metropole. So the Bureau d'Art et de Recherche is a non-profit space, artist-run space that is running since 1999. I'm involved since 2015. And basically, we organize exhibitions, of course, contemporary art exhibitions. We also set workshops for children. We do some programmation or activities, of course, in our walls, but also outside in the city, like street art. Also doing presenting works basically outside the wall, and this is an overview of where I'm involved. And for the Bureau d'Art et de Recherche as artist, the past year was the challenge I went through is the cancellation of exhibitions, project that can be done because uncertainty, and this affects also the creativity, I think, on my side, I mean. And for the Bureau d'Art et de Recherche, what was the most difficult issue to deal with is the fact that we couldn't host exhibitions, the fact that things were canceled, and you know what basically drives us as a team, as a member of this nonprofit space, is the fact that we welcome visitors. One of our mission is to welcome the visitors and propose some quality exhibitions and welcome different kinds of publics, and that was one of our main mission that we couldn't do. Also, what was also difficult for us was the digital issue behind the COVID situation. So the new tools we needed to make or to use in order to reach either a broader audience or try to reach our audience through new channels. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Guillaume. Alexander?
Right. My name is Alexander Mood, and I'm an artist, as the others, and I represent IDI Gallery, which is a gallery, it's a member-driven gallery which has been around since 2002. And I think in terms of the gallery, I mean, to me personally, I had an opening like the third weekend in March last year, which had loads of people in it, and then everything died a weekend later. It's just incredibly how fast it went from one thing to another. And I think the space has been suffering from, I think since we're a member-driven space, I mean, each member has exhibitions. It has been we have realized how important it is to have physical, like it's a lot of the things that happen in the gallery demands an audience in the gallery, sort of thing. So it took us some time to get to terms with this. And I mean, we tried different things. We had, like Andreas, we had exhibitions where you could see it from the outside, from the outside in, and we had openings on the street, but that demands that the weather is kind of okay. I mean, the weather can get quite, nasty in Sweden. So, I mean, it's not possible at times. We also tried back projections and stuff on the window. But I think a good thing that came out of it for us was that a lot of digital things happened. Like there was a digital gallery opening with a lot of members from the gallery and stuff like that. But other than that, I think to us it's been a challenge, to say the least. We had a fairly clear idea of how to do things, and more or less we have 2 years of I mean, every year is more or less booked, like 2 years in a row, like, so a lot of exchanges and stuff also didn't happen. Some of them should have happened April last year, and it's happening in September, October this year. So I mean, it's everything's been moved, and a lot of exhibition has also been moved around. So that has been a challenge, how to switch, because if you're full for 2 years, it's hard to reorganize the space. I mean, economically, we haven't suffered terribly at all, because obviously we're not founded and by choice. We founded it ourselves, and that's the way we do. So that was about it for now.
Okay, so I will make the end so that I also can bring in the perspective of das ESSZIMMER here in Bonn. So my name is Sibyl Feuchter. I'm the founder and curator of das ESSZIMMER, and I'm the host of this event. And of course, I can start actually with supermarket, which also then explains a little bit our connections and why I invited you. So last year, we actually, for the first time, we got funding, because this kind of funding didn't exist before, to go to supermarket art fair in Stockholm. And I was very excited to go there, and we had worked together with an Armenian curator from Yerevan, and she has invited 3 young Armenian artists, which that we wanted to present in Stockholm. And we, as Andrea said, we had booked the flights and we had booked the accommodation, and then nothing happened, and which was very, very disappointing, of course, in just many ways, because to have this organized before, there was so much work going in this. It's and then it's just completely eroded. There's nothing. But we of course had also a couple of cancellations. Instead of 4 exhibitions, we had 2 exhibitions last year. We wanted to have, or we were planning a project with an artist from Canada for a residency, and then for an exhibition, which of course was not possible at all. And it's sort of still, it still continues, because of course you plan, but you don't really know what's possible. You always have to, you need like not only the plan A and B, but also C and D and E, and yeah, almost to Z. And then also all the scenarios are also changing all the time. And of course, we had to close in, I think in December. And since then the space is closed. So since last week, we can have visitors again by appointment at the moment, which is quite a barrier. So I don't really expect that there are a lot of people coming, because it's just, the whole life for everybody is much more complicated. And then to also make appointments to see an exhibition is just too much, I guess. It's just not really, it's not very feasible to do that or integrate that into the lives. Yeah, we also had something like a technological boost, because we had no choice. It was either like not doing anything, or try to be present at least online, and so we are still trying different kind of formats and see what's working, what's not working. I was sitting in a lot of this Zoom conferences and workshops and so on, just to see how other people are dealing with it, and to see how it might be able to work, or how it's maybe not really so making sense. I'm sort of and I'm so busy with sort of getting organized in this thing, that I feel that I'm actually lacking the time to reflect on what happened and what is still happening, and to find creative ways how to deal with it. It's more like that. I feel like I'm constantly running after to adapt to new rules and the new or more or less possibilities we have, just to make the space survive and get attention for it and for the artists and the exhibitions we actually have. So this is very tiresome, I think. So I'm really happy to sort of exchange and share how you feel about it, and if we are all in this kind of sort of big tire, sort of this really tiresome or almost burnout situation thing. And before we started the live stream, Guillaume said something which I think is sort of can sort of put things a little bit together. He said that they were sort of suffering from not being able to do our mission, sort of in this really broad thing. So we all had to adapt, but I think we all probably feel some kind of discomfort on that. The mission we are actually have and that we burn for, that was very difficult to bring that to the public and also digitally. So maybe that would be a starting point, sort of the missions and if how it's possible to transfer our missions during this pandemic to the world, let's say. I mean, that's I don't know, Andreas, I mean, you with the art fair, I mean, that's the worst case scenario that can happen, that you have to close down a fair. That's because there has been so much work on that, and I've seen that you sort of try to have this kind of pop-up thing online, and then you also made a local fair for Swedish art spaces in fall.
We did in September. We did
right.
super local instead of supermarket, with a map, and then 13 artist-run spaces who had their own exhibitions. And it was before the second wave, so it was quite little restrictions, and people went to the exhibitions. Of course, it was limited numbers of people, but and now we are planning to have supermarket in mid-October, but it's still very, very uncertain who will be able to travel. And I think this is our biggest problem with supermarket and with the networks and the international collaborations that we have, that it's just impossible to plan anything. And I'm afraid that after the pandemic, everything will happen at the same time, and it will be just impossible to to have time for everything. Because when you are usually planning, like, okay, this half year we're going to do this, then the next half year we can arrange this big conference or something, and then not having things too close to each other and so on. So it would be a tough time with the risk for a burnout then.
I'm not so sure if there will be really something like this turning point of after the pandemic, but I would be interested, can you maybe say something about the experience? I mean, a lot of institutions also focused on this exhibitions with local artists. I mean, before sort of everything had to be international. It was only cool when it was international and the artists came from far away and all this. And then suddenly this was not possible anymore. And then the local was like the new cool. And can you say, did that do anything? Did any, what happened? I mean, that was the first time that you had just this local fair.
Yeah, it felt good in a way because we kind of forgotten the local art scene and the connections in between the spaces here and so on. So always focusing a lot on our international guests and especially the ones that come from other continents and so on. So that was a positive part of it.
Would you, I mean, is that something you would sort of, you think when, let's say, the international art fair is possible again, that you sort of want to keep this experience, that to more also foster, let's say, the connections to the local art spaces?
Yeah, maybe also keep this new thing that a huge audience is not everything. It's it has been like the highest goal is to gather as many people as possible, and I've experienced that when you get an audience and you have the restrictions and they're like very few visitors, they are very happy to see an exhibition, and you're really happy, you're really appreciating them, and you have nice conversations and so on. So
okay, so to reduce a bit. Mass is not everything.
And then about traveling, we already, before the pandemic, we started to discuss how to reduce the traveling. And because of climate. And then this happened, and now we were forced to it. And it was possible to reduce traveling a lot. And but then how we will deal with that in the future? It's a pity because I really believe in the physical meeting between people, that it's very important for collaboration to actually meet. But then there are other things that are more efficient to do via Zoom. When you learn. But now I think someone else has to say something.
Yeah, who wants to add or to this?
Maybe I could do an additional, because I've always obviously seen, but we were obviously part of the super local because we are also Stockholm based, and I thought that worked, and then that was one of the things that worked tremendously well. I mean, it sort of created a sort of, I mean, many years ago we had a local thing called Super, which is called Southern Comfort, because we were part of the southern part of Stockholm, like most artist-run spaces are there, which had sort of a similar effect. It was almost 20 years ago, not really, but 15 at least, probably a little bit more. And it felt a little bit like that a lot of the artist-run scene, everybody came out in September and joined in the supermarket thing. And I thought that was one of the wonderful things that happened, sort of thing, that the super like the concentration is obviously much, it's harder when there's a lot of things going on, but there was very little going on, obviously because of the pandemic. So it was interesting, at least, to see that it could be done, that it was a local, like the local audience met up, sort of thing. So I think something happened there. I don't know whether you can bring it on into the future. I'm not so sure. And I mean, also to us, I mean, we had a few of these street things, which is actually quite lovely to have, at least in the spring or in the summer. Like it created something else that we had never ever thought about. You know, it also created different problems. Like we had a sound piece in the letterbox, not thinking about like that even small sounds can wake up a whole street, like, and people got really pissed off, you know. But then again, it was more interesting than it was problems. So I just wanted, that's it. I just wanted to move in while I was after Andreas. Thank you.
Guillaume, Marie?
I'm also quite happy to say something. Yeah, I'm happy to say something. We, in 2019, we already worked on, as an experiment, on a virtual residency. And the virtual residency, we did not call that much a virtual residency. For us, it was sort of using our social media and using that to expose practices of artists who were mostly based, or whose practice was mostly based on performances and works in the public art, and then a public space. And then we moved on in 2020, we already had that planned, into a virtual vitrine that we sort of shaped along ecology. And during the pandemic, we had enough time, I think, to develop from that also a project which we called Warp, in which we actually showed local artists in the vitrine. But that was already going on before the pandemic even started. So we already had ideas that we could sort of, well, maybe enlarge or experiment a bit more with during the pandemic. That also gave us quite a bit of air to think of a complete new program that we have developed. And I don't know where it's going, but my team is extremely enthusiastic. And I just think, okay, let's just go and experiment and see what it's going to go to. Since we have such little money as funding, you know, everything you do is right. There is no wrong. And in the Netherlands, we were completely closed. So no museum could receive any visitors. And of course, gatherings outside were not allowed either. So we could only walk with 2 other people outside. So gatherings outside to open up an exhibition was just not possible at all. So we did all our exhibitions, either openings in the window, or we had like a book publication that we sort of made public on social media. So that's how we sort of, and also I think that you're talking about the local art scene. I experienced, in my view, we are a small town in the south of the Netherlands, and our art scene is not so huge. But I experienced that everybody was so busy in their own circle that actually making meetings outside with the museums or with other people, they were just very standoffish because everybody was trying to solve their own problems. And these problems sort of ranged in just what you explained, you know, from, yes, we've planned something, oh, we cannot do it, oh, where is our program, oh, what are we going to do now, oh, let's do this. And then, you know, you do something and it costs a lot of energy to do it, and also to rearrange things. For example, we were asked by a Turkish partner to become partner in a capacity building program with all kinds of other European organizations. Well, our whole program, at least the program we were supposed to do, it was just zero, nothing. I've received funding and I've actually thought I better save it and put it aside because we're not going to spend it. simply because we cannot spend it. And also, instead of sort of getting this knowledge exchange, there was just not enough time to find again another opportunity for a new Zoom meeting. And also these Zoom meetings to sort of get together things done with organizations you don't know became very cumbersome. And also people, or at least me, I should actually talk for myself. I used to try and evade them. Maybe now.
Someone want to step in here, or
just finalize and saying that what I hear from all of my colleagues who just talked before now is the amount of energy you can lose doing things. First of all, being an artist is a challenge of a life. So this is a first point. And when you run an artist-run space or any kind of non-profit entity, you do it for you do it because you want to be part of a community, because you want to be involved in the public life. You do this because you want to promote art. You want to give a chance to some to a public to see some exhibition. You want to develop a scene where you live. And so be part of this, and this is like Reed said, an amount of time, and the key point of the past year is you put a lot of energy as you want to put in a project, but the fact is because the things are always changing, you give too much energy, and this for me was the key point, because when you lose too much energy, of course you don't have enough to do something else. And now I'm happy to feel that the things are going in a more normal way. And at some point in the past month, I decided to, in order to spare energy, I decided to say, okay, let's concentrate on organizing things that will happen in 2022 or 2023, in order not to put energy and then cancel and then to change and so on and blah blah. So this is one thing I decide myself to do.
So yeah, I think we are all agree that there is a lot of friction with things that have to be organized, and in other times they are just organized, and then you can make a check. And now, and since a year, it's you never end with organizing. It's always sort of still on hold, because the circumstances can change, and then you have to restart again. You have to rethink a bit about the same things over and over again. So there is a lot of frictions, and this kind of, which makes really tired and costs a lot of energy. And the other thing that has been also sort of lightening up a bit. I mean, we're also in the frame of another art fair platforms project that in essence that now in the second year cannot take place, was supposed to take place last year in May as usual, and then they came up with this online version, and now we are in the second year in an online version. and we are a little bit more prepared on this now. So we all learned Zoom and live streams in between. But the meeting is difficult. I mean, this art fairs are possibilities to meet in person, to go out for dinner and drink something and sit together and over a period of a couple of days. And so it's really, and there's not much else to do. So you talk about art and you talk with others about art and you exchange a lot. And so we talk a lot about networking, which is a word which I not so much like, but actually it's a lot about bonding with other people and dive into the worlds of other spaces from somewhere else and of other artists. And I always have loved these moments also because a lot of great connections and friendships and projects came out of this. So actually, Alexander, I know from platforms as well as Guillaume, and due to a project we had together with IDI in Stockholm. Then I also had the possibility to meet Andreas during openings, and also Reed. I didn't meet her at platforms, but at another fair, actually the first fair in Berlin, we actually did. And since then we are really connected and had a couple of really very nice projects that are nice for the spaces, but also really the artists benefited a lot from this kind of exchange things and cooperations. And my feeling right now is that I mean all these connections that existed continue to exist, and it's really easy to meet online or exchange, and without that this panel would have not been possible. I mean, you all accepted this invitation very fast, and I think it's mainly because we have met before, and with Andreas we've been in another panel at IDI in Stockholm, and so and then from my side, I don't experience that there are new connections happening. I mean, we can the existing ones, they are getting even closer maybe, but it's not further expanding. It's getting not there's it sort of stays there, and since the beginning, I'm always had this question in my mind: what are possibilities, or is it possible at all to generate new contacts or meet new people in this kind of formats? And so far, I personally haven't really been in any of those workshops where this really worked to close this. So I don't know, maybe you can share your experiences in that respect. I don't know, who wants to start?
Well, this is interesting because I'm really, now you say it, I'm also thinking, yes, maybe that's really true, because we were actually offered this collaboration with Turkey, with the university and with Mid-Ost. So we had introductory sessions and all that. And even though, and all these meetings were also must, they were obligatory, but it didn't bring us closer. I mean, we're still willing to collaborate, but I have no feeling that I know these people. So if I think about it, In my experience, maybe I would agree that even though we meet people online, we exchange ideas, but we don't meet each other. So therefore, we cannot forge the bonding, like you explained. And that's very, now you explained it, I think about it a bit deeper. Thanks for that. Yeah, so I experienced.
So how about the others?
Yeah, well, I find it almost depressing. That's one of the things I think that we sort of have struggled with in IDI, that not only do we not have an audience really, and I'm not in particularly a big fan of online exhibitions and stuff like that. It doesn't get to me in that kind of way. And I think especially the art fair, supermarket and platforms has been an extraordinarily good, functioning in meeting other people. And I think that's been the main purpose for, at least for us, and it has worked tremendously well. But as you say, I mean, we kept the contacts we have in Canada and in, like, with you, Sybil, and we have they've almost gotten deeper. Like there's other projects has been born, but I really miss that physical, both in Stockholm and I miss the physical, looking at exhibitions more and having big, like, openings. I think it's important. Like, it's a lot of the social interaction is also making the art sort of thing. I mean, Andreas was saying, that the audience that actually comes is more inclined to be interested, and that I think is true. It's been quite a few quite interesting. The very few physical meeting that has been quite interesting, and more. Also, maybe you have the time to do them. I mean, and also I've been to exhibitions where there's been. I went to big exhibition in Konstnärshuset, Ulla West, in the beginning of the year, or at the end of the year, I can't remember. But anyway, she was there physically, and we were there for an hour and a half to look at the exhibition and walk around with the artist, and that was great. But I think in general, I feel almost depressed that it's not the buzz doesn't happen. Like there's nothing really going on, and like I said, online exhibitions, like I find it really difficult to look at art in that kind of way. It feels almost like Googling stuff, like you get some sort of idea of something, but there's nothing there. Like you don't know whether you actually like it or not. Like it doesn't, very, very seldomly it affects me in any kind of way. So I move, someone else can jump in now. Thank you.
I have more or less the same opinion, actually. What is very interesting is Platforms project. One of the main mission of Platforms project is connecting different entities together, and it works. I mean, it's one of the main goal. Of course, the goal of reaching also a public and a dynamic in Athens. And of course, participating to Platforms project is to me is of course, as you said, Sybil, is a way of bonding, networking, and meeting people, and having a connection and develop some projects, and this is what we also discussed, and some projects are going to be done, and more to this, when I go to Athens, it was becoming part of my lifestyle. At some point is this tradition to stay 1 week in Athens and meeting the colleagues there, and as Alexander said, the social aspect is very important. as we are human being, human beings, we need this, and it gives us the, at some point, or place in this in this social in this world, you know, to have those interaction with our colleagues. So so yes, and the fact that we don't have this anymore start to maybe to bring some new behaves, as maybe Andreas said, or Alexander, I don't remember, but the amount of events on the net, you know, I don't. I have to admit that I'm not so running. I'm not running after this, even though we do a live show, which is a bit of contradiction. But I think the contradiction is always there, weeks after weeks, months after months. You know, I educate my children not being in front of a screen more than 1 or 2 hours maximum a day, and we get some information. This online exhibition, this event, this panel, this live stream, and the human being are not, you know, biologically, you know, there to stay in front of a screen the whole day. So so this contradiction starts, you know, the fact that is a sort of a new market of attention, you know, what entity, what event get the most public on the net, and how can we catch our audience? It's always the same issue, the same question that is we repeat, and you know, when you live in Sweden, isn't it better, you know, to go in the forest and embrace a tree, you know? You know?
Yeah, I think, Guillaume, that brings it really to the point. I mean, I also feel a bit awkward that, I mean, we are now talking in 5, but I don't see that now. My intern sees that. I assume that there are a couple of other people joining us on this, but you don't see that. You are not aware of the other persons listen to this panel, and so it feels like a private conversation, but it's a public conversation, and so I still think that this is quite a bizarre situation on one side, and then the other side is that I also feel a bit strange that I'm now suddenly in this role almost of an entertainer in front of a camera. I mean, I'm an artist, and I have this I founded this art space, and but it's completely something different when you're sort of be put on the spot in this video thing, and then you can watch yourself later on, and you hear yourself, and it's really strange. I never wanted to have this kind of presence, and now you have it, you do it suddenly, and yeah, I just feel it's strange. I just think it's strange. That's I don't know how you feel about this kind of situation. That's also, Andreas, you were initially putting this on the spot, that the roles of what we are doing have shifted a bit. I mean, it has shifted to more organization and more administration and less curation and less seeing things and meeting people and seeing art and so I don't know how you feel about this, maybe Andreas, since you brought this up.
Well, I was thinking more of the new responsibility we experienced, and perhaps it is a bit different because we didn't have any lockdown in Sweden, and it was very much up to everyone's responsibility.
Okay.
And so, for instance, we have had very difficult discussions on how to deal with our own responsibility as Candyland, for instance. We arranged in January, we arranged a forest exhibition, and it was
cool.
It was beautiful, actually. And there were maybe 10, 15 artists who made exhibitions or installations on a route in the forest, and it attracted surprisingly many people. And it was okay because it was outdoors and there was no crowd, but the newspapers wrote about it, and then you have the comments, the comment field, and because it's quite a controversial question, there are those who are like just going on calling us idiots and so on, because it's very polarized with people who thought that really think that Sweden should have locked down as hard as the rest of Europe.
Okay. So they found it not irresponsible that you did initiate something like that.
Yeah, and we had to, nothing really happened, but we had to really think about like, what is our media strategy now? What was happening? Well, there was one thing, there was a table, and that was actually illegal. It was okay to to walk in the forest, and but as there was something that was fixed, it was a part that was not allowed, and yeah, so it made us realize that we are now we can do something terribly wrong in a way that we are not used to. We're not used to that kind of responsibility at our little independent space.
Yeah, I mean, in Germany, everything is so really strict, regulated, that there are no much possibilities to sort of find holes that you can do something. It's quite clear. So, and my experience was that particularly artists and spaces, they were so keen on not to violate any rules and to be maybe even stricter than they had to be, just to fulfill this responsibility and not to take any risks. So that was my experience, that there was no one was really very adventurous in this time. That's yeah, it's sort of it's sorry to hear that this kind of because from Germany and probably also from France and from the Netherlands, I think we all also looked sort of with interest to Sweden, because yeah, you sort of could do everything. There was nothing really restricted, and so, but no restrictions are also a problem apparently.
We were very clearly, instructed in many kind of ways to, left to our own devices, like to make our own restrictions, which is obviously, like Andreas put it so bluntly, was quite difficult. And we had a similar exhibition, but in the spring of last year in the forest, and that was illegal. The whole exhibition was illegal. There was no, we didn't seek to get a permit, because you can't get it in. It's in the woods behind me, and that's a natural resort. So I mean, we had the strict restrictions in terms of not destroying anything or using any of the, but it created a situation where we had a large audience, like this is a suburbia, like it's not normally people not coming out here to look at art and mass media and so forth. But on the other hand, we got quite a few pieces destroyed, but it wasn't, the exhibition wasn't as planned and, execute, like it was very fastly done, fastly, put up, fastly everything. So I think Andreas and their exhibition was much more well planned and thought out. And obviously to us, it was much more, let's see what happens sort of thing, could this be done? And I wasn't the organizer, but that was the idea. So I think maybe that was one of the interesting things with that whole, at least last year was interesting in terms of, like, in the beginning of this year, like that we had to take other measures, and we could do so, but like Andrea says, we have had loads of, how do we enforce people to maybe book time in the gallery, and is this doable? And people do book time, but they don't come, or they come anyway, or like it's difficult to, when you don't have an outer framework, it's difficult to be restricted and to restrict, and it's new to us, kind of thing.
I don't know, Guillaume and Reed, what are your experiences? I mean, in France and the Netherlands, I think the frame was also sort of as close and as tight as in Germany, so there was no really possibility to test anything. But the experiences with this book, with lost and all this, how that?
Oh, it's just like you said, people would actually book a slot, didn't come, or came at a different time, or just rang the bell because they saw that we were here and thought, okay, might as well ring the bell because we could have one visitor. But all our exhibitions were visible from the street, and we did have a lot of people from around the corner who would have their daily walks and who actually would come and look in the window and read and got their fair share of art. I think in our locality more than they would normally do, because they wouldn't sort of do these walks. But visiting the gallery, that was just impossible, even though we as an organization could manage one visitor a day. But these visitors were very often taken up by a volunteer who came to work. So that was our one visitor. Yes. And there was one initiative in the summer which was quite nice, and that it was a 24-hour project with 24 artists, and each artist would do a performance in public space for 1 hour on the whole clock round. And you could actually follow this online, but you could also get a map where all these things sort of happened, even though the map was hidden. I mean, the map was on the internet, but you could not really sort of get it before. It was only afterwards that you could see the map, simply because it was not allowed, of course, to have the map, because there were no great gatherers allowed. So that was as far as the creative thing that we could do, that we did, I think. And the other thing is that we have quite a large library of about 2,500 publications. And because there was so much time at home, I thought it was a good idea to catalog the library, catalog the library. And from that, we also developed reading groups. And I'm not sort of a fan of Zoom meetings, even though I'm here, but that's maybe a different type of Zoom meeting, where you're not sort of listening in, but where, because you are a participant. So we derived from this library a number of reading sessions, and we had quite a number. We only had one up till now. We had a surprising amount of people who actually wanted to listen in, much more than we expected, and we didn't advertise it. And to my really great surprise, I loved it. I really loved being read to and listen in on the conversation and hear this voice reading text, a text that I didn't study beforehand, but my colleagues did. And then there was conversation about it. And it really felt like learning something new together with these people in the group. So for me, that was a very positive thing that sort of arrived from Corona, and doing something online. Doing something online that sort of felt or gave a new a sense of belonging to a group, or doing something with a group. Because I did, maybe now, but otherwise wouldn't experience it.
Do you think you would sort of keep that, or would then switch it sort of back to the analog and have it like as a real reading space?
I could not understand your question really well. Could you repeat it?
Would you keep this kind of online reading sessions, or would you sort of switch back to the analog version and have the reading session then in speech, or do both?
The sound is on in the back.
We will do both. We will do the reading sessions and online, and people can come here. We have decided to keep them, invite them physically, so we can now receive 4 visitors, and from the 5th of June, everything will be open. So our next reading session will be online, so we will record that, or at least make notes, and it will also be physically available to people who come here and who will read with us. And we have actually got the plan to actually do a reading session each month, and it fits in with our program for the coming 4 years. So we are quite happy that the opportunity came to sort of look back into our library, got interesting subjects out, bought even new additions to the library, and it even sparked a lot of interest from our volunteers who also suddenly wanted to get know more about certain subject. So I think it even sparked us from thinking that we are not wanting to be this giving institution anymore. You know, this institution that gives the residency, that collects or finds funding for it, or that has opportunity with a beautiful exhibition space and good curatorial support, but that we actually also have a need, and that our need also is learning. And how can we actually get into this feeling of organization, of volunteers, of people who want to do something together, into this collaborative learning network? How will we actually learn ourselves? And I think personally that this is a very, very positive thing that happened to us, because it made us aware of how much more we don't want to give, but we want to give to each other, and sharing this knowledge. And that all came from the library. It was quite surprising and very unexpected.
So I think we are already sort of like sort of finalizing a little bit, going to the end, to see how, like, summarizing what are the interesting or the positive things that we all take from this year, and we still take from the situation to sort of project into the future, since also the panel was called "And Now." So what are we doing with that, and what are the positive things we can actually learn from it? So I don't know who wants to continue.
On my
You?
side, yes,
Yeah.
yes. On my side, something very positive is when we reopened, like last summer. We had a 1 month to reopen the gallery before the second wave, and we decided, instead of doing an opening at a specific time, we decided to extend the meetings with the public every Saturdays, for example, between 5 and 9. So we had an extended time to give the opportunity to the visitor to come and not being too tight because of the COVID situation. And also the positive aspect is it was that we had time to give more time to those visitors, discussing, explaining, instead of a big rush for a specific opening. That was a positive aspect. Another positive aspect is like 2 weeks ago, when in France, we the cultural venues could reopen, as well as shops and the shopping malls and those kinds of they were thinking that there will be a big rush. I need to buy my clothes. It's been a while that I didn't do shopping and stuff. And actually, the visitor, the people were preferring to go to museums and to go to theater, because they really missed that. And to me, it raised this issue of culture and how important it is in our society. Sometimes I feel that the government they don't assume that 100%. They have a program, they have a budget to split and to give, and at some point it's like if they don't assume that 100% is the culture. Art is much more important than what we may think. It's not it's not we can figure this by when we see some old rock carvings in Tanum, for example, in Sweden, or some rupest paintings in caves, some art from Aboriginal people in Australia that is 20,000-30,000 years old. So art is in our life since many years, and it goes over the or small lives as a human being, but more in a more extended way, the biological time of humanity and civilization.
Andreas, what are the interesting or the positive things you took from this and you learned and you are projecting into the future. Is there anything?
First of all, thank you, Guillaume, for mentioning Tanum before Lascaux.
It's because I visited them, and it was one of the best. It was a cultural shock to see those this art, and this is why I wanted to just to underline this. It's the feeling you get of being in front of so old art and yes, the feeling you have, simply the emotion.
Yeah, I can just agree that this that you realize that people value culture is very positive, and also, yeah, like I mentioned before with the audience, and but I think this that we showed that we are able to do a lot of stuff that you thought were impossible before, with the for the climate, with traveling and so on. I think that's one positive aspect of the whole.
You have one more positive, or that's a positive? It's a big positive thing, so.
Next.
Alexander?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it has been negative. I think the positive sides has been the time we have had time to reflect. Or, partially what are we doing, and also since everything has been turned upside down, there has been some opportunities to, I think, also towards, like in Sweden, towards the sort of normal institutions and stuff like that. So, I mean, something happened where the artist-run spaces became more, I don't know, more a part of the rest of in one way. I think also one positive thing has been the rethinking of, where to put art. There was 3 outdoor exhibitions in Sweden in 1 year, and it was quite, kind of spontaneously, it was an interesting way also that the audience actually came. I mean, if you come to exhibition here, you have to, go out on the subway, or in Andreas' case with the bus and out into the woods. And in your case, it was in the middle of January, not possible 2 years ago, but now there was an audience who said, fuck, I want to go to art. I want to see something. And it was, I'm fully prepared to do this. So I think the rethinking might have positive effects in the future, but we would just have to see, won't we? I mean, I don't know. And also, I mean, like Andrea said, it's good for the climate. I mean, we need to rethink whether it's going to be trains or I don't know. But, the rethinking has been interesting. That we were forced to think about it differently. So that was my finishing. I think that was as long as I can,
Well, I mean, I think I feel that I've been forced to get into more this technical thing. So now we know how to live stream and YouTube and all those things, and Zoom, etc., and experiment with formats, and which also, of course, give some kind of it's like a toolkit. You have more possibilities, and of course it's nice to use it and play with it, because then artists don't necessarily have to be here for an artist talk or a conversation. They can go back, or they don't have to travel again, and so we are in this climate discussion again. So this is something which should be used and played with it much more. On the other side, it's still this, I mean, I would also have really loved to have this kind of conversation with you, maybe about a different kind of topic in essence or somewhere else. And this lack of this physical exchange and contact, and to see each other and also sense the physical presence, and have a drink maybe after the panel discussion, and all this kind of social things, they are just not happening and they didn't happen now for a year at least. And this I'm just really missing this a lot, and also this also depresses me, that not to have it. I don't need it every day, but eventually, time by time, and the complete lack of it is not fun. That's so I think we are sort of at an end, unless someone of you wants to add something and like the final words of this panel. Read.
No. I think you have the final words, actually.
I already have them.
Yeah.
Maybe is there any question from the public?
I don't know. There is no listeners, but no. Well, this YouTube thing, I think, is not very. It's not very fun. I mean, you have to type in, and you have to be registered. So not everybody who's using YouTube is registered. So that's also a step you have to take. And then just to type something in, I don't know. It's not the same as when you can just sort of step in, raise your hand, say.
I have a fun experience. I think you were there, Guillaume. It was a conversation like this from Kunsthalle Kleinbasel. Sibylla, I think you have the sound on. In fact.
No, I think it's Reed, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I was just going to watch something like this, and I was hungry. I was planning to put it on and then prepare some food. But then as soon as I got into the meeting, it was like, and here's Andreas Ribbung, hello. and I was not invited to the panel. I was just only going to watch, but I got stuck in the...
Okay, so you were suddenly in the Zoom conversation.
Completely unprepared.
I think I was
hope
there.
it was an interesting discussion then. Guillaume, sorry.
No, I think I was there when you got stuck in in the Zoom conversation. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've come to an end. I mean, of course, there is no conclusion or anything. It was an exchange of different point of views, and I hope it was interesting for all the others who joined us for this. And I really want to give a big thank you to all of you that you spared the time and accepted the invitation, and I give you a big hug sort of on the digital way. I hope we can we can do it in a more physical way in other times somewhere. So I just thank you. I leave you for the evening, and
Thank you, Stephen.
I don't know, a holiday. You also have holiday tomorrow in Sweden? No? Okay. In Germany, it's a holiday tomorrow. So, okay.
What's it called? What is it called?
Oh, Frohen Leichnam, my intern tells me. Don't make me translate it. Okay, so.
Okay. Thanks a lot for the invitation, Sibylla. It was a pleasure to be with you.
You and everybody who stayed until here. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Sibylla. See you.
Thank you.
Ciao. Have a nice day. Have a nice
Ciao,
evening.
Guillaume. Andreas.
Did you disconnect?